Well, hello there, everybody. This is Pastor E.O. Jackson, of course, coming to you from Greater New Antioch Baptist Church, 2900 Avenue G. We're delighted to be able to bring you a word from the G Block. One of our deacons coined that phrase, and I liked it. And, I kind of borrowed, don't want to give him credit for a deacon sitting in the woods. Don't you all dare tell him that I came on today by talking about a word from the G Block. Want to thank you all for joining in with us today to hear what the Lord has to say to us during this time as we're still streaming our messages. Of course, we just can't wait, and we believe ultimately eventually it's going to happen that we're going to be able to gather back in the worship place. But for right now, we're going to be obedient to our civil authorities, and we're just going to stream our services and hope that we can get back in the Lord's house real soon. I want to thank all the members of Greater New Antioch Baptist Church. Great people that I've been privileged to pastor these, 35, 36 years, I think, 35 years, I don't know, somewhere in there. And I want to thank them for making it possible for me to be able to stream these messages. All of our team who work hard to do this, thank them very much. And thank all of you, some of our friends who are joining us and tuning in on our messages. And so we appreciate you. Again, you can find us GNABC.org. That's Greater New Antioch Baptist Church. That's GNABC.org. You can find us on Facebook. We stream every Sunday here at noon, and then on Wednesdays during the day, we have a call-in Bible study. You can get that information on our website. And then, of course, on Wednesdays at 7:30, we stream a Bible study. So they're one and the same. So you can catch one that's on the conference call. That's why our graduated members, people who may not be as computer astute as others, but they have the opportunity to join in by way of conference call. Hey, we're happy to have you on that. And then later that evening, we'll be streaming that message. So thank you. And we're delighted to have you all here for this streaming service. Now, this is the word of the Lord. We're not in a church setting, but this is still the word of the Lord. So thank you all very much for joining in. Now, I want to pick up with where I left off on last Sunday with that word. Last Sunday, I was dealing with Thomas and the effects that the resurrection had on Thomas. I want to stay right there in John 20 and get down to verses 30 and 31. And what I want to do was read that word. So apologize for looking off to read that word, but it's here. And many other signs truly did Jesus in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book, but these are written that ye may have or might believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing you might have life through his name. I want to talk about the rest of the story. The rest of the story. Hey, brothers and sisters, what an amazing story it was when we were able to look at that disciple Thomas, who was not there when the Lord appeared. And Thomas told him, now I'm just not going to believe unless I do some things for myself. You ought to yourself want to go from an I heard to an I know salvation. So many people, everything they do is predicated on I heard, but you ought to graduate to I know. I used to talk about what I heard, but I've lived long enough now to talk about what I know. And so Thomas said, I want to know for myself. And it happens. Thomas was able to experience the resurrection for himself. Last week, I told you about Thomas being confronted by the resurrection. And now John concludes this chapter 20 by telling us we should not just stop at the resurrection, but there's some more of the story. There's the rest of the story. When Jesus got up, it just doesn't end there. But I like the way John closes out chapter 20. Amazing things happen in chapter 21. But brothers and sisters, I think it's high time for us not to just read part of the story, but to read all of the story. And let's delve into this beautiful, beautiful incident and see what is packed there in these last few words that John records. Now, I love these verses because it points out something to us, and I think it'll help us during this time of the virus, because we think we got all the story, but y'all, there are some parts of the story we just don't have. So let's look in here and see. And I would to God, and we try to keep these messages compact because we know how difficult it is to sit here and try to listen. So we don't try to be long with it. Try to keep it compact so you can walk away with knowing that you have heard a word from the Lord. Look at what he says there. And many other signs truly did Jesus in the presence of his disciples. Let me say a word right there and tag that portion of this text, the confessions of the writer. The writer makes a confession. It's right there in the text. In a portion of verse 30, he makes a confession. Listen to this confession. And many other, it's there. Many other signs truly did Jesus. Now, these signs, remember that the miracles that Jesus performed as the kingdom is ushered in, they were called signs because all of these signs were meant to point Jesus to the fact that Jesus is in fact the Messiah. It's unfortunate, but that's the way God so designed it. So he developed that there will be signs. And Jesus, when you look in the record, you can see many signs there. Even right here in the Gospel of John, there are many signs. The turning water into wine, that was not a miracle to appease the appetites of the people who gathered at the wedding. No. That was a sign. You remember that story? They came to Mary and said, we've run out of wine. Mary does the right thing. Guess what Mary does? She does not attempt to handle it herself. She goes to Jesus and says they have no wine. And then it is recorded, Mary says, whatever he says, that's what I want you to do. You see, that's meant to show us that Jesus is in fact the Messiah. So the text says the writer confesses that there are some other signs that Jesus performed, signs / miracles that Jesus performed that are not recorded in the book. So when we start debating as to what the Lord can and can't do, you haven't seen all he can do yet. We got a snippet. We have enough, and we've seen enough to know what he can do, but y'all, we just have a snippet of his power. So the writer confesses that there are some other things, and dare I try to venture out there and figure out what those other things were. But the writer, he just says that there are some other things that he did that are not written in the book. And that amazes me, and that causes my mind. People start wondering, can the Lord do this? And we've never seen him do this, that, or the other. Well, the truth of the matter is, When we look at this pandemic that's going on, there may have been a pandemic that he handled that's not even recorded in the book. So there are other signs that he performed, but all pointing him to the fact that he is the Messiah. So I like the way John does this. John says there are some other things that he did because his immediate followers need to know, in fact, who Jesus was. Now, listen, if you're going to follow him, you got to know who he is. A whole lot of people are still, and I'm hearing some of the most ridiculously foolish things that are coming out and crazy teachings that are coming out during this particular time. But there is settled facts. Jesus is the Messiah. Don't think you know all that he can do. We've not seen everything he can do because the writer confesses it. John says there's some other stuff. He says I didn't even put them down. He said, but there's some other stuff that are not even written. And the Gospel of John is a sign packed book. I could just go on a litany of things from chapter 1 on through and find miracle after miracle. There are some prolific miracles in the Gospel of John. The feeding of the multitude, chapter 11, the raising of Lazarus from the dead. There's some stuff in here. And that chapter 11, when Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead, they start dialogue. If you had been here, my brother had not died, and I believe he'll rise in the general resurrection and the last day. And Jesus recites one of the great I ams that are found in the Bible. He said, baby, listen, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. I am. When you get a chance, just look at some of the I ams that just in the Gospel of John. I am the bread of life. Those great I am. So the writer, he makes a confession, but look at the next thing. In verse 31, he says, but these are written that you might believe that Jesus is the Christ. There is a challenge there to the reader. When we read this text, there's a challenge there. Listen, brothers and sisters, the words of the Bible is not going to get up off the pages and walk into your mind and into your heart. But these are written. You see, listen, you would never know about the part of the story that's not written unless you spend some time dealing with what we do know. There's enough information already in the Bible to get us all the way from earth to heaven. You remember that song we were saying, church, let Jesus lead you all the way from earth to heaven. There's a challenge here during this time of this staying home and all this. How much time are you spending looking in your Bible? I'm telling you, you can become fearful during this time. You can wonder if we're going to make it. The stock market is crazy. Economy is crazy. Man, we just, who knows? James said what will be on tomorrow. Life is just as a vapor. It appears for a moment, then it's gone. That's what James said. So listen, you have a challenge in this text. There's a challenge to the reader. These are written. These things are written. These are written. Have you read what's written? That's what I want to lay before you today. Have you read what's written? When I just kind of run through my mind everything that I've ever read about what Jesus has done, it moves me. That there again, that even that situation with Nicodemus, that's a miracle there. How can a man be born again when he's old? Can he enter the second time into his mother's womb and be born? No, that ain't how it happened. That was born of water is water. That was born of flesh is flesh. Are y'all listening to that? But that was born of spirit is spirit. Marvel not. I said unto you, you must be born again. Those people who are part of the Great New Antioch Church, they know this. Listen, when you were born the first time, your mother and your father came together and produced you. You got your skin color, your eye color, your frame, and all of that kind of stuff. That's what happened. You got two sides of your family that comes together in one person. Sometimes you can have your mother's skin, your daddy's hair, your mother's skin color. We're just a mixture. Look at my brothers and sisters. Some of us come down on daddy's side of the family. Some of us come down on mama's side. But when the dust settles, those are still my sisters and brothers. Same mama, same daddy. Daddy was a little lighter complected, and my mother was a brown skinned woman. Some of us fall in the middle, and some of us more that Jackson side. Some of us are that Davis side. But listen, when you are born again, this is what happens. The Spirit of God and the Word of God comes together and produces a new you. When they get together in you, people can tell, hey, that you are a product of who you were born after. You've got to be born again. I want to challenge you today. Look in this book. Take you out some time daily. Read something that's found in the Bible. But listen, here's something else. That's a challenge to the reader. If you're going to know something about the part of this story that's not written, listen, what are you doing? Read that Bible. But these are written. You see, you won't understand what John is talking about unless you read this story. You're going to read the immediate context that Jesus appears in a room. The doors are shut. The windows are closed. And without knocking on a door, Jesus just appears. He gives to us a glimpse of what that new body is going to be like. It's going to be able to appear and disappear, walk through walls and close windows. He appears and then he knows what's going on. He's recognizable. Man, you got to read this book. If you read the book, you can find out some amazing stuff. All of this mythical stuff that we've come to believe our bodies are going to be just like that of Jesus. He was recognizable. There were some things that what did Jesus maintain that was man-made? What's the only man-made things in heaven? Well, those old preachers taught me the only man-made things in heaven are the nails in Jesus' hand and in his feet. They were still there. Thomas, the wound in his side, all of that stuff was still there. There is in this text a challenge to the reader. But look what else is there. He says, but these things are written, verse 31, that you might believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God. And here's the latter part, that believing you might have life through his name. That's the content of the message. That's the content of the message, that by believing you may have life. Listen, that's what Jesus came to teach us. Man, we've been jumping through hoops and hurdles all of our lives, and I've been hearing it these 40 years that I've been in the ministry, in the pulpit. What does it take? He says that by believing you might have life through his name. That's all it takes. I long to see the day when people will get away from all of these arguments that you got to do this, that, or the other. Everything you can talk about is fine. But the real question is, do you believe? That's why I closed on last week, and some of you text me because I asked you to. Do you believe? That's yes, I believe. I believe all things are possible if you only believe. That's the real question. Do you believe? I believe. I believe that I don't have all the story, but I got enough. I have enough, y'all. Don't ask me everything that Jesus did, because it ain't in the book. But what I do know is I have enough of the story to know that Jesus is the Messiah. That's the rest of the story, y'all. The rest of the story is, listen, we don't have the full picture. Some stuff is not written in the book. One writer says that if everything Jesus said and did were put in the book, he said, I reckon that the world couldn't contain. In other words, y'all, there's a lot of stuff that we know that he did. And I don't even want to, when I start thinking about what I know he did. Let's kind of run a list. What do we know he did? Well, we know he raised Lazarus from the dead. We know that. We know that there was a multitude that was hungry. He fed them and had some left over. We know his disciples were caught in a storm. We know he got up, said, "Peace, be still." We know that there was a lad who had just 5 fish and 5 fish and a few barley loaves. We know he used that and fed a multitude, and the boy had some left. That book, that Bible book, has so many. That wine ran out. We know about that. Peter's mother-in-law being sick. We know he made her well right after worship. He said, "Anon." She was healed immediately. We know about Jairus and his daughter. Man, we got so much. I mean, Lord have mercy. We got so much that I would shudder if the Lord were to open our eyes and let us find out about some other stuff. If we just think about what we already know. So that's good news, y'all. That's the subject for today. The rest of the story. The rest of the story. And the rest of the story is there's some other stuff out there, y'all. There's some other stuff. People are trying to say the Lord can't handle this, that, or the other. The question is, how you know? And the reason I can ask you, how do you know? There's some stuff that he's done that we don't know about. We don't know. That's what John said, some stuff written. When we start talking about, I have this and he can't handle it. How do you know? We try to go on what we have seen and what we have been able to read about. But there's some stuff that we just don't know. Let's leave on that, y'all. And when you get a chance, you're on the phone and you're talking to somebody, tell them, there's some stuff about the Lord. I heard that Pastor E.O. Jackson say, it's some stuff God has done we don't know about. It's not in the book. There's some other stuff he did. We don't know what he did. We just, our imagination could take off with us. But I'm not going to do an eisegesis. I'm not going to start reading in here. I don't know what those other things were. The Lord is silent on that. I'm just going to say, y'all, it's some of the story. I just don't know. But what I do know is I like the way John and many other things. There are some other miracles that he did in front of the disciples. Whatever he did, this is what I do know. It was good. It was good, and whatever he did, it established the fact that Jesus is who he claims to be. He is God. He is the Messiah. Thank God, y'all, for the rest of the story. Thank you, Thomas, for what you did. I'm gonna be through with this next week. I'll be on something else, I believe. But thank you, John, for putting this in the text, that we can know that there's some more of the story out there, and what is out there is good for us. He's the Messiah. What about you today, brothers and sisters? Do you believe that Jesus is who he claims to be? He is the Messiah. I have a story. I like that old song. This is my story. This is my song. I'm praising my Savior all the day long. What are you praising him for? I'm praising him for what I know he has done. I'm praising him for what I don't even know that he has done. He's that kind of God. Well, this is Pastor E.O. Jackson, y'all. This is a word from the Lord. Y'all, I just can't wait. I just kind of felt a little preaching in this today. I just can't wait until we're able to reassemble. But what I want you to do is hang in there, hold on, because in his own time, in his own way, we're going to make it, y'all. I don't know. I don't have any prophetical word. I'm not interested in debating the scriptures. I just want to focus on what we know about God. When you get a chance, think about that old song. You can't make me doubt him. I know too much about him. Let that be your anthem for this week. You can't make me doubt him, baby. I know too much about him. And with what I know is some stuff I don't know. But even what I don't know, You can't make me doubt it. God bless you. This is Pastor E.O. Jackson. I'll see you same time next Sunday with a word from the G Block. Until then, listen, you and your family be blessed. Don't forget to catch us for Bible studies on Wednesday. Look at our website. Track along with us there on our website, and you can see how you can interact with us there. Listen, during this time, remember, Pastor E.O. Jackson, I'm praying for you. Do me a favor. You pray for me. You and your family be blessed. Take care.